Hey everybody, good to be with you again. We're about 6 or 7 weeks into this thing. And one thing that I think we've all experienced during this time is more time alone. And you could say more time alone with our thoughts. Now, I don't know about you, but sometimes my thoughts, the voices inside my head are not that kind. And I'm talking about the voices that tell us you're no good, you don't deserve good things, you're a victim, these just really negative, kind of hurtful things. Now, I wanted to bring forth kind of an alternative to those kind of thoughts. And to do that, I wanted to tell the story of Jesus' baptism. It's one of my favorite stories. And it happens in the arc of Jesus' life. Jesus hadn't done all the Jesus-y things that we think of, the miracles and the sermons and the healings and things. He hadn't done those things. But he comes to John, his cousin, to be baptized in the Jordan. And when he comes out of the water, there's a voice, and it's his Father's voice, it's God's voice, and it's saying to him, "You are my Son, the beloved. With you I am well pleased." Wow, what a thing to hear. And Jesus, I imagine, internalized those words. I imagine that he took those words deep into himself. And with those words, "You are my Son, the beloved," with those words echoing in his ear, he then went out to be Jesus. And the first thing he did was go out into the desert to be tempted by the devil. And one of the ways that he was able to make it through so many hard things, not just the desert, but many hardships, was he had a sense of who he was. God told him who he was, his beloved Son with whom he was well pleased. So he had this sense of identity all the way through all these difficult things. Now, I've talked about Jesus, and this was God speaking to Jesus coming out of his baptism, but what I want to tell you is that the words that God directed at Jesus, those same exact words and the same exact sentiments are directed at us. "You are my daughter, with whom I am well pleased. You are my Son, with whom I am well pleased." That is who we are. That's our identity as well. We are God's sons and daughters. Now, it's hard though. Those voices that I was talking about are loud. And we've known those same voices. Those voices have been telling us this stuff for years and years. So we have to come on strong with this new understanding of ourselves. Think about this. Instead of waking up to the voices telling you you're no good, you're not going to do any good, the first voice was God's voice telling you who you are, who we are, God's children. And that's how we went out into the world to do our life. I have a friend, and he has this wonderful expression about worship, and he says, worship is rehearsing the truth about who we are. In worship, we rehearse the truth that we are God's children, and we tell each other that we're God's children. And we haven't been able to do that. We haven't been able to do that, to worship. And so it's all on us to begin our days with the positive, I mean, what could get more positive, words that Jesus said to Jesus. "You are my daughter, with whom I am well pleased. Go out into the world and be my daughter." So that's what I hope for you. That's what I hope for me. that we can be God's sons and daughters in the world. That's how God drew it up. That's how God drew it up. And so may we, during these difficult days, rehearse the truth of our identity, that we are God's beloved sons and daughters. Amen.